Good evening. You're tuned in to the ghostly broadcast, Paranormal Station. I am your host, Timothy. Together, we journey into dark, foggy lowlands of the mysterious aspects of our world, cataloging its intangible, nebulous encounters with our mortal human condition. All Hallows' Eve is a time of Western celebration. As the nights get longer, darker, and colder, we allow the evil and macabre to be parodied. It is a silly celebration of things that go bump in the night as we let ourselves slip into the fun spectacle of it all. However, the origins of our childish tricks and treats can be found in ancient rituals and pagan legends. All cultures share some forms of necromantic rituals, whether to ward the dead off or to invite them in. Tonight, we travel to North America to hear something wicked this way comes. Our first story. Dear Timothy, I'm using a different name here for reasons that I'll get to. I don't exactly want people to find out about my side hustle. It's good money, but it's not exactly something that I want to write home about. For the past year, while I've been at college, I've been working as an escort. It's all legit, on the level stuff, and I don't have to sleep with any of the clients, thank God. I'm just a piece of arm candy for old rich guys to show off at parties. On Halloween night last year, I almost gave up the whole gig. It was the money that eventually numbed me to it. The booze, the food, and the fancy gifts are neat perks, but the money is something else. They buy your silence. In return, you can purchase anything you want. I was on the arm of some think tank exec. Once you've met one, you've met them all. He'd been invited to this place out in Blackstone, and he wouldn't shut up about it. We get to the door, and the maitre d' looks at him scornfully, before greeting me with a smile. We'd been out to a few bars on the way, and my client was already pretty sauced. We're welcomed in and ushered to our seats. My client catches up with some buddies of his. They're yakking about how this will be a once-in-a-lifetime horror show, better than any movie. I'm rolling my eyes, thinking, yeah, I've seen The Exorcist. Then, the host arrives and greets everyone. He welcomes us all to the evening and explains why everyone is there. Some have come seeking knowledge, others closure, but all of them have been specially selected to commune with the dead. First, after the clamor dies down, the host has his staff wheel out something on a velvet cart covered in a rich blanket. Once it's in front of him, he pulls away the cover and reveals a black, shimmering crystal. Then, with a knife in one hand, he slashes deep into the palm of his other until blood trickles down his wrist. A few of the audience members gasp. Ignoring the commotion of the disturbed viewers, the host places his bloody hand on the crystal. A chill fell over the room, and darkness crept in from every corner. Everyone fell deathly silent. Walls began to shake, wails echoed through the house, and the glasses of fine champagne shattered in hands, cutting those holding them. Some people screamed, my client and his buddies cheered, and I just sat in shock. All the while, the host was bellowing out the same word over and over again. Beware. After a minute, the noise died down, the darkness receded, and the host collapsed. His staff caught him and brought him back to his feet. He looked around the room and said, "If you wish to see, place your blood and palm on the stone." With a spring in his step, my client shrugged off any warnings and sauntered to the crystal. His finger had been cut by the broken glass, so he placed his palm immediately on the black crystal. Soon as he did, he began to shudder and shake. I watched in horror as he screamed in agony, as every part of him began to bend and twist in ways a human body isn't meant to. All without taking his hand off the stone. The guests screamed. I felt cold hands gently grabbing my shoulders, and I jumped. I looked up to see the maitre d'. He looked at me with sympathetic eyes and said, "Miss, your car is here." He must have noticed my confusion when I looked at him, because he gently squeezed my shoulders and gave me a knowing nod. My cue to get out while I still could. I gathered my things and left quickly, not before taking on more look. My now former client screamed in deep throaty moans as blood poured from his mouth and eyes. I felt sick, but the maitre d' grabbed me and hurried me out the door. The driver took me to my college dorm without me even saying a word. I couldn't. I was in shock. After a sleepless night where I contemplated the danger I'd been putting myself in, I got wired an obscene amount of money for my discretion. Thankfully, I've not had a night like that since. Yours, Margot. Thank you for your testimony, Margot. I will forever be amazed at the hubris some have when it comes to the supernatural. Those with material power believe that it translates to power overall. Unfortunately for them, they cannot take their riches across to the other side, and thus they're as powerless as the rest of us. Our next testimony comes from Oliver in Toronto. Dear Timothy, I want to get this out to you and your listeners while I still have time. I've messed up. I've messed up everything, and maybe I can do something right in this sorry life. Last Halloween, I wanted to try out this ritual I'd heard about online. Sure, I'd said Bloody Mary into a mirror 3 times and done all the dumb things that teenagers do for dares, but I figured there had to be some truth to them out there. Sure enough, I found it. I won't explain this in too much detail, but it's simple enough for people to understand anyway. All it took were some mirrors, a candle, and 3 things important to me. I performed the ritual just as I'd read it. It didn't need any incantations or Latin verses, just me on my lonesome, staring at the mirrors at the witching hour, 3 a.m. I don't know if it was the drink, drugs, or just being a depressive insomniac, but the whole thing got blurry after that. All I remember is waking up in bed, fresh as a daisy, and feeling better than ever. The ritual worked. I was my best self. I was happy, productive, charming, and charismatic. Everything I liked about myself was worn on my sleeve, and it showed. All the things I hated about me, being angry, depressed, and unfulfilled, all of it was gone. But it has to go somewhere, right? You can't just chop out a part of yourself and expect it to die and be forgotten. There's a reason why you bring 3 items that are personal to you. 1 is for you. The rest are for the others. When Thanksgiving rolled around, the others, my others, had decided that I'd had my fun. It was their turn. I started noticing little blackouts here and there. Sometimes I wasn't sure how I got somewhere or what I was supposed to be doing. Started slow, things around the apartment. A lost item here, some misplaced keys there, and then it got worse. Now I'm not even sure if it's really me that's left anymore. There were times when I would wake up in the middle of the night, tears streaming down my face. But when I came to, I wasn't even sad. I don't even know what sad is supposed to feel like anymore. Likewise, with anger, I used to have such a short fuse. Now, I wouldn't even get angry if my ex walked right up to me, slapped me in the face, and took my wallet. But that didn't change what happened. My supervisor at work grilled me over something inconsequential. I know it's negligible because I knew it wasn't my fault. Thanks to the ritual, nothing phases me, and I'm a productive model employee. Still, it would have made me angry in the past, and it made me angry still. Not me, but the part of me that I removed, tucked away somewhere for it to fester and rot. Well, rot it did. My super didn't show up to work the next day, and I'd lost the entire night previous. I had absolutely no memory of it, no matter how hard I tried. When the afternoon rolled around, my colleagues and I learned that my supervisor had died in a car accident. His brakes had been cut, and it was being investigated. This was a couple of weeks ago. It was also the first time that I, had killed anyone. Because he is me, Timothy. He's the part of me that I hate the most. My short-tempered anger and hatred towards this world and the people in it. I carved him out of me and locked him away with nothing but his seething rancor to boil away. Yesterday, I found a watch on my nightstand when I woke up. It was a watch I'd brought with me to the ritual. One of the items I'd given to a part of me that I wanted rid of. I know it wasn't my anger that had returned it. It was my depressed, sad self that had given up. I hadn't felt his influence for months, and now he was gone. All that was left was me and the other one. I have no drive or passion to continue with nothing left in me but apathy. I'm fading with every hour. All that's left is him and his vitriol. I don't know what happens to me when he takes over. I guess it's stupid to think like that, as it has always been me anyway. Be careful what you wish for, Timothy. It doesn't matter what it is. It's never worth the price. Yours, Oliver. Thank you, Oliver, and I hope you have found peace. To play with the paranormal is to play with fire. No matter your intentions, the supernatural has a will of its own, and you will bend to it, not the other way around. Our next testimony is from Jenny in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I've been warned that some subject matter may be troubling to some, so I'm passing that warning on to you, dear listener. Dear Timothy, my name is Jenny, and I wanted to write to you because I'd like to warn you and your listeners about playing with Ouija boards. I know you probably don't need reminding. There are probably plenty of your listeners who know that it's just a silly board game to freak kids out, and that's what I thought until it showed me something that I'd rather have never known. First, I need to give you some context. For most of my early teens, I was the victim of my Uncle Paul. He was a terrible man and went to the grave, never facing any justice for what he did to me. My parents only found out when they were going through his things. Sometimes I wished they just stayed ignorant. My dad still doesn't quite look at me the same. The guilt in his eyes is unbearable. It took a long time, but I'm older, wiser, and have a life to live. So I've done my best to move past all of this until one Halloween night, when, as a little gimmick among stupid high school teens, some girlfriends and I decided to play with a Ouija board. Truth be told, I was all for it. I didn't believe in ghosts, so what was the harm in playing with a Hasbro board game? We said the words and moved the planchette in 3 circles. Then we asked if any spirits wanted to talk with us. The planchette fired over to the yes. We all giggled nervously, trying to figure out who among us was actually moving it, but then it raced out of our hands and moved all on its own. Hellojenny. Hello, Jenny. All my friends looked at me. I was stunned into silence. Another of us timidly asked, "Who are you to our friend?" "UNCLEPAUL. Uncle Paul." I felt sick. I wanted to run away because I was back to being a scared little girl facing him again. Are you with me now?" I asked him. Planchette darted to yes. Then it rushed across the board and spelt out always. My lip quivered, and I wanted to cry. My friends, who all knew about him and what he'd done, stared at me in horror. Then I felt a cold but all too familiar squeeze of a big hand on my right shoulder. I winced at it and screamed. The whole time, the one thing that gave me the courage to move on and the drive to keep going was that he was rotting away in hell. Dead and gone forever. Now I know that he's here with me all the time. Whenever I'm going out with friends, trying on a pretty dress in the mirror, feeling good about a smile from the boy I'm crushing on, I feel that cold, wretched hand squeezing my shoulder, reminding me constantly of what he'd done to me and that my life would always be for his amusement. I was his victim in life, and even more so in his death. I viscerally hate him. At first I was happy to move on, but he won't, so I can't, knowing that he is there and has always been there. Sometimes I wish we hadn't even used the damn Ouija board, and I could have stayed ignorant of it all. I have scoured the internet for any way to kill a ghost, but I'm not getting anywhere. Every time I feel his hand, I curse him again and again. I am consumed with misery while trying to shake him off. Lately, I've started to take small comfort in my situation. My life has now become one of vengeance. I know he is here with me, tied to my being somehow. Maybe someday I'll finally find the means to serve him the retribution he deserves. Until then, I'm stuck with him, standing at my shoulder forever. Yours, Jenny. Thank you, Jenny, for your candid testimony. It takes a lot of courage to carry on after going through what you've been subjected to. To have it forced upon you once more is another thing entirely. I wish you the best. Our last testimony of the evening comes from Anton in Washington, D.C., USA. Dear Timothy, my name is Anton, and a few years ago I was invited to a dinner party with some new colleagues one weeknight. It was a new job and a chance to network. The fact that it fell on October 31st was just a coincidence, and this was the kind of well-to-do neighborhood where people would prefer kids to be seen, not heard. Needless to say, none of us were expecting any trick-or-treaters that night. Regardless, the host had left a bowl out just in case. It was a casual evening. The food had been ordered, and the table was all set for a little social shop talk as we ate. Suddenly, we hear a knock at the door. I joked with my friend, the host, that it was too early for dessert to arrive. He said it was already in the fridge. "There's candy in the bowl. Help yourself," my friend shouted. The person at the door knocked again, louder this time. The host marched over to the door and threw it open in frustration. "There's candy in the..." He paused. There was no one there. The host shrugged it off, chalked it up to kids playing around, and shut the door. With a smile and a wave, he ushered us into the dining room to take our seats. 5 guests, 1 host, 7 places. One of us asked the host if he was expecting anyone else. He looked confused at the 7th place set and said he must have done it without thinking. He cleaned up the spare cutlery set, and we took our seats. We ate, drank, and had a perfect night. all until it came time to clean up. Someone noticed something strange as we all passed our plates and did our part to help clean up. A seventh plate with a smattering of leftover food, specifically all of the mushrooms, had been pushed to one side of the plate. I made a sly joke about someone not liking the mushrooms, and the host, along with some colleagues who'd known him for a while, went deathly silent. The host didn't respond. He grabbed the plate, stormed out of the room, and threw the whole thing in the trash. I asked hushedly what that was all about, and someone explained that whatever prank one of us was playing wasn't funny. They knew it couldn't be me because of how new I was to the team, but someone appeared to be messing with the host on a profoundly personal level. According to the gossip that I was hurriedly filled in on with quiet whispers and hushed conversation, his business partner, the man he'd made his entire success with, hated mushrooms. The guy had died suspiciously shortly after he and the host severed ties. Rumors abounded, but, of course, nothing was ever proved. While I'd been getting the lowdown from everyone else, someone had been trying to calm the host down in the kitchen. He emerged eventually, and, despite his awkward accusational eyes, we carried on the evening. Things hit the fan when everyone's phones buzzed at the same time. I pulled out my phone to give it a glance, as did everyone else who received the message. In a simple, no-reply email, it was a link to a Dropbox. I clicked it, and suddenly my phone lit up with a lot of stuff. Financial records, memos, emails, datasets, and a lot of incriminating evidence of fraud within the company I'd just signed onto, all surrounding the host and his deceased former partner. The host flew into a rage, throwing his phone and yelling threats. He vowed to find out which one of us had done this and screamed at us to get out. I didn't need to be told twice, and I took my cue to leave, get a ride home, and immediately start looking for a new job. From what I downloaded to my phone, the company was done for. This was the kind of impropriety that white-collars went to prison for. Sure enough, like rats fleeing a sinking ship, everyone at that dinner party ran for the hills. Company tanked, but not before I read our host's obituary in the paper. I wasn't surprised that he would take the coward's way after what he'd been facing. What shocked me was that he'd gone the same way his old partner had. Same place, same method, even the same time of night. Poetic if you believe such things. Yours, Anton. Thank you for your testimony, Anton. Like the crops on my farm, we must all reap what we sow. This concludes the evening's ghostly broadcast on Paranormal Station. I've been Timothy, broadcasting the mysteries of this strange life brought to you in the testimonies of those who have lived them. If you enjoyed this broadcast and would like to be notified of the next one, please like, subscribe, and tap on the bell icon to support our work in bringing the supernatural to your ears. Good night, listeners, and sleep soundly this Halloween.